Hey guys, so today we have a video that will bring you guys right back. Let's take it back a few years, like almost pre-pandemic. So this will feel very, why am I just holding on to a little pretzel? I was mid having a little snack, so I'm just holding on for later. Yeah, this will bring you guys back. And it's a very serious topic as well, so I don't want it to, because I feel like I've really not switched up my content, but like kind of. I feel like a lot of my videos are quite lighthearted just because the TikTok drama that I talk about is just quite lighthearted. Someone gets like overpriced cake or something, or like someone's wedding makeup doesn't look great. Like it's all really light and fluffy in the grand scheme of things, which is how I like my content. But this I felt like needed to be talked about. Subscribe, hit the bell icon for engagement, and let's just get into it. This is about James Charles, once again, being predatory, but also just a piece of crap. Keep it PG friendly. And you guys will be glad to hear this is one thing me and my foe Be Better will agree on. You might have seen his video being talked about. Basically, Be Better company, Be Better, is like a TikToker who talks about drama, and me and him had a bit of a spat. You guys were there to witness it. But you guys know me. I'm also one of those people where like I could not agree with 100,000 things you do, but if you do one thing right, I will bring that thing up because we're all human and it's actually not that deep. Let's all touch grass, you know? So Be Better did a video interviewing the main guy that I'll be talking about, but I saw a TikTok that he posted that allegedly his video is being like suppressed in some way and people are getting an error when they watch his video. So I don't know, but he basically does an interview with the main guy talking against James Charles and the straight guy that he is trying to be with. And so I don't really know what's going on there. I don't think it'd be YouTube protecting James Charles. I just wonder if maybe James Charles is doing some kind of allegedly behind the scenes stuff. But what is in the Be Better interview is actually in these guys' TikToks as well. So it's not like I'm ignoring the Be Better video. It's just the guy already kind of talked about most of that stuff on his TikTok account, but now they've just consolidated it into a big interview. So if you want to prefer watching that, you can go watch that. But he also does have it on his TikTok account. There is a TikToker called Kyla Malik who basically blew up because of her style of makeup and people thinking that it's rage bait, because people be like, why'd you do makeup like that? It doesn't look good. And then she would just keep on doing her makeup like that and people thought it was rage bait. It could be rage bait, or it could also just be that she wants to do her makeup like that and people hate it. And basically this is her TikTok account. She's got 15.4 million followers. Yeah, that's that. And she went on like a makeup tour. Well, because obviously people were complaining about the way she does her makeup, she went on a makeup tour where a bunch of really famous beauty gurus did her makeup, and one of them being James Charles. Now, she is a victim in this situation that I'll be talking about. But just like with the Be Better stuff, see, I think being 25, I've reached just like a level of nuance where I don't hold things against people as much and I don't nitpick. Like, I don't like Be Better's Honey Company. He did a good interview with someone that I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like, nothing is really strong beef for me. I don't think about these people once the camera turns off. I don't hold hatred in my heart, you know? So it wasn't good that after all the allegations against James Charles that came out, that Kyla did a collab with him. No, we don't want to support James Charles because despite a few allegations against him being lies, a lot of them are also allegedly true. He's also done just a lot of things in his life. We don't want to support that. Does that then take away from the fact that she's a victim now? No. People are allowed to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. Doesn't take away from anything that's ever happened to us that might have victimized us. So yeah, anyway, she does a collab with James Charles on both TikTok, like both of their TikTok accounts, and on his YouTube channel where he does her makeup. I'm not gonna play the sound because I think it's probably copyrighted anyway, but it's one of those like Princess Diaries scenes where he glams her up from what people don't like her style to be, and then what he did. Obviously stunning girl, and I think the makeup looks great. Yeah, so that happened. So they seem to have been friends behind the scenes. Obviously not like besties, best buds, we owe each other everything in life, but they knew each other, they were friends, they did a collab. So she then posts two, as far as I'm concerned, let's just check to be safe, 3+ hour long videos on her extremely abusive now ex-boyfriend, luckily, to the point of him, and this is like a trigger warning, I rarely do these anymore because like I said, all my videos are really fluffy and fun. This is like really strong DV. He broke her jaw, she had bruising all over. Like, I don't know how she came out of that alive. Obviously super happy that she did, and she's able to tell the story and she did get away, but with what he was doing to her, I am just shocked that it didn't go any further than that. And the series is called He Doesn't Love You, which I think is a great title because I think some things... I just think it's a good title, basically. I'm not going to go into the deep thoughts and feelings I have. It's a great title. The first one is 2 hours long and the second one is almost 2 hours long, so not 3+ hours. So this is about 4 hours of footage of her talking about how the relationship was. She has loads of clips and loads of footage and loads of footage of him blatantly admitting to what he did, or her filming herself right after he's done something. We can still hear him in the background. There is like, I have never seen, well, dramatic. I don't think I've seen in a really long time someone have this much proof for what someone has done to them, where it's so undeniable. And it's so undeniable, in fact, that he actually got arrested and then bailed out by, and this is up for debate, people think it's his sister or his mum, but people also think it's James Charles. I know, but I don't think it's James Charles. I think it's either his sister or his mum. Her ex-boyfriend's name is Evan Johnson, and because he's been arrested but not convicted of anything, I do have to say allegedly, but if you watch these two videos and you see all the footage that she has, the allegedly starts to be more of a whisper in the wind. But like, I'm not saying it with conviction. I'm not saying allegedly with conviction. And it's just scary. And it's scary that someone can behave like that in a relationship with someone who they claim to love. Hence why the video is called He Doesn't Love You. He has been arrested, which she talks about on her TikTok. And it's just a 15-second to like a sound. But she just says he was arrested. And this was on the 18th of April. And she says too many emotions. To which, yeah, a lot of people are obviously supporting her. His ex-girlfriend called Tegan also spoke out now and talked about her relationship with him, where he was allegedly also verbally and emotionally. And this is her TikTok account, and this is where she talks about it. Someone said, please go to court with her. There is obviously a pattern. Yeah, so obviously she can be almost like evidence for Kyla, even though Kyla already has so much evidence. I feel like this is just further proof that he's always been like this, and he continues to be like this, and he will probably continue to be like this unless he's convicted. He then tries to debunk the allegations and make his own statement that the guy who was in the Be Better interview speaking out against Evan and James Charles actually filmed for him. So the guy behind the camera is the guy in the Be Better interview now speaking out against Evan and James. So he's changed his tune completely. He was supporting Evan for a while until he figured out how much of a piece of shit he is, and basically has completely done a 180 and said, hey, I was his friend for a while, but I don't agree with him. I've seen the evidence, like, it's undeniable, and James Charles is a piece of shit for trying to be with him, because that's where this story is going. I know. So this is his statement basically that he made.
The 9 months we were together, she said the whole 9 months I was abusing her. Right? Why would we go out all the time and do all these crazy adventurous stuff if the whole time it was just terrible? If I was such this terrible guy, why would she be with me? She could have left me at any second. She's way more up there than me. She has more money. Like, all this stuff, she don't need me. She don't need me. And if she figured I was no good for her in the time being, she would have left immediately. I promise you that. She exaggerates. And she figured out her views, or she's like, I need to make a series, I need to do something. And now that me and her broken up, it's like, does she really love me? Like, she's saying she does behind the scenes to me, like, I love you, I miss you, all this stuff behind the scenes, but then goes on there and tells you guys a whole different fantasy tale. I don't understand it. And abusive, mentally, I guess, we both, I'm gonna hold myself accountable, and I hope she, like, we would say crazy shit to each other all the time. And I guess it came to a point where I was controlling, like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you going out to the bars. Or, hey, I don't want to go out to the bars, let's stay home. If that's controlling, that's crazy. I want to live a slow life and travel and just be us. We had to tag Emma along everywhere we went because they wanted to do stuff together. They wanted to go out parties. She said since she just turned 18, that's her first time going to bar life. Her and Emma both went to bars together. That's her bar buddy. And then she met me, and I'm like, I don't want to be in the party life. Alcohol is a big problem for me. 99% of our arguments were drunk related, like just insanely drunk, and we would argue and fight with each other and just call each other outrageous names and then apologize. And I was like, it got to a point where I was like, this is unhealthy. Like, I should not be calling you these names because I genuinely loved her, and I still do. And it's like, I don't know why I would call her those names. And I was like, I still have trauma. I have trauma from when I was younger that it only comes out when I'm drinking. Like, I become someone I'm not. And I'm like, I don't want to be that mean guy. I want to be that normal guy. I gave up drinking. I don't do any of that. I've been fixing myself, acknowledging myself, knowing what I did was wrong. And I don't think she's grown. She says she's growing. She still went out to party. She's still drinking. She's still doing all this. And she just goes on TikTok and says, like, my life's terrible. I'm actually me now. Why were you with me?
There's so much to unpack here, and I mean, I'm like, I don't have to explain it to you guys because you know, but I will hit on like the main points. I think it takes a woman on average 7 times to leave an abusive relationship due to gaslighting and manipulation and the like attachment that forms between an abuser and the abused. So that's why she kept on being in touch with him and going back to him and staying with him. Doesn't debunk the abuse that we saw on camera and heard on camera and saw on camera, because of how undeniable the evidence is, it's like it doesn't actually matter what he says, right? And then 2, he says he's been changing himself, he doesn't drink alcohol anymore. I don't think alcohol is the main issue. I think it's you that's the issue, but obviously alcohol makes it a bigger problem. But you seem to have been treating your ex like that, and I think unless you get punished, you will continue to treat people like that. Whereas, you know, he's saying, oh, well, I've been changing, but she hasn't. She still drinks and parties. And it's like, drinking and partying is not illegal, and it's not morally incorrect. It's a morally neutral thing to do. Being abusive in a relationship, or just being abusive, is morally and legally wrong. So there's the difference. She doesn't have to change. You kind of have to, or you're going to face the repercussions. We have Zach Sellers, who's this guy. He was in the Be Better interview. He's actually now basically talking about not only Evan Johnson, but also James Charles. And so he's done a bunch of TikToks basically about the whole thing, you know, how he was in this video filming it. And then he talks about James Charles. So allegedly, James Charles has essentially, when Evan Johnson was accused and these allegations came out, he was like trying to make Evan Johnson feel better, giving him advice. And to the point of now people think that he's been pursuing a sexual/romantic relationship with Evan Johnson. Let's go through this guy's TikToks and just hear him out.
Hey guys, I'm just getting on here and I want to thank all of you guys for your comments and messages. I am trying to get back to all the messages I have been receiving and also getting back to the comments. A really big comment that I have been receiving multiple times on multiple videos is, why am I hiding the big influencer's name and why am I trying to save his side? By no means, I want to let you guys know I'm not trying to save this influencer/celebrity's name at all. I'm just trying to do it the right way. I do have receipts of him backing Evan up ever since the original live come out with Kyla. And I do have receipts where Evan also went and visited this celebrity and stayed quite a few days in LA with him. There is a lot more to this story, but
Also, I guess if you're American, you'd say Kyla. I mean, I guess if you're from the UK, you'd also say Kyla. I feel like your go-to if in the UK though is to say Kyla, but I guess Kyla. My sincerest apologies.
Hi, sisters! Okay, I know you guys have been waiting for more parts and want the celebrity's name. I wanted to do it the right way. I wanted to reach out to Kyla, and Kyla hear from me first, just because this is her story, and I know deep down this is going to hurt. I gave you guys a hint at the beginning, but I'll go ahead and throw the name out there. It's the one and only James Charles. I know James is doing very, very well for himself, and a lot of young people look up to him. Even my own nieces. I did not think that James was this type of person, but you just never know. You never know. There's a lot more to this story. This is just a brief little thing, me coming on here, just giving you guys the name, and there's going to be so much more coming out along this. But it's just, he needs to be held accountable, and he needs to be called out. If I was in this position and I done this...
I don't know how you wouldn't expect that from James Charles. I guess a lot of people have just forgotten about his past. And people think that now because he's funny and he calls people like fat and stuff on live, that suddenly gives him like this new life at his career. And the thing about James Charles is he does the same thing, rinse and repeat. It's actually really boring at this point. He gets really famous, gets really cocky, starts being very like full of himself, crosses the line, people get pissed off. Something comes out about him, gets cancelled, he gets humble. He goes, humble sister, I'm so sorry sisters. And then slowly, as people like him again, he gets more and more cocky until he inevitably gets called out again. This has been the rinse and repeat of his career, and it's starting to get really, really boring. Other than just being awful and disgusting behavior, it's just boring at this point.
Hey guys, I know this is going to be a tough video, but I have to do this. I want to thank all of you guys, for all of the support. But I'm seeing and getting a lot of messages about JC is having comments taken away, he's blocking people, and people's videos are getting taken down. So James, I'm calling you out. Let's talk about whenever we were in the car and you were FaceTiming, Evan all the time. You remember the time when you were just talking about how fat your ASS was? You remember talking so badly and poorly about Kyla and pretty much hyping Evan up that he wasn't in the wrong, that he won out of this. Like, let's talk about the time and when we were on FaceTime, and then you hung up, and then you sent a message on Instagram and says, I have a big surprise for you when you get home. Just remember, I went home with Evan, so I saw everything. You remember the photos you sent? Multiple photos. You just had to show it off, didn't you? You just really had to get to Evan, didn't you? If I'm wrong, please come at me. Please. If you can prove me wrong, come back at me. But let's see where this goes, because you definitely need to be called out, and stuff needs to stop getting deleted. Just because you have power and you have followers does not mean absolute shit. You're in the wrong and you're in the wrong. That's it.
So there's proof and evidence of things happening. Now, he posted a few clips of the interview on his TikTok. And so he posted a few of the clips of his interview on TikTok.
For speaking with me and for coming all the way to Toronto to do this interview. I also want to start by reiterating some of the private conversations that you and I have had, which is in speaking on your firsthand experience in this entire situation, to remember that Kyla is at the heart of it, and to acknowledge the real gravity of what she went through, and to encourage every single person to watch her videos first and foremost before they watch this, because I just don't want anything that we're speaking about today to overshadow her story.
Yes.
And with all that being said, I just want to allow you the opportunity to introduce yourself and your relationship to Evan. James Charles on FaceTime. Did you know who he was?
By the voice, yes. And then I just looked over and it was James.
Right. There were other encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like ongoing? And then also, were there any encounters where James was speaking specifically about Kyla?
Now I have, caught on of why he was so, like, do you trust him? Because they started picking up back on their conversation. And that's when James came back to Evan and was like, well, you didn't lose anything, Evan, out of this. If anything, you won. I'm here, like, for you no matter what. Like, whatever you need, let me know, call me. He says, also, when you get home later tonight, FaceTime me. I want you to FaceTime me. And he says, if we need to sleep on the phone, we can. I'm here for you.
Were there other instances? Was it an ongoing thing where they were kind of constantly in communication?
They were in communication every single day. The only person he had after losing Kyla that he felt that he would be able to stay in the industry was James Charles. So he had to keep James Charles as close to him as possible. But back to the next car time, there was a message back that James had sent to Evan and says, I have a big surprise for you when you get home. We get back, and little did James know that I actually went home with Evan. And when we get to Evan's house and in his room, Evan message him. They were messaging the whole time anyways. And he lets James know, like, hey, I'm like 5 minutes away from home. Okay, so letting James know, get ready and stuff. Evan takes a picture of himself and is like, obviously him in his room. And the next picture was James bent over on his bed with his ass up in the air. There was one time that Evan was driving and he's like, Zach, can you text James back? And the message I had to send back to James was, I can't wait to see you. But James was very, very serious. James started the friendship as, I'm here for you. I've been through the same kind of things. Like, I want to give you advice. Listen to me.
There were some initial messages which we can put on the screen. James said, hello, I'm just now seeing these. I'm absolutely not on his side and would really, really appreciate it if you would leave me out of this. I only ever spoke to him because he manipulated me into thinking his situation was similar to what I went through. And he says it was a really personal and sensitive topic that I had empathy for. I felt disgusting and awful, and I've stopped responding to him altogether. And from speaking to Kyla, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a situation where James Charles had wanted Evan Johnson and Kyla Malik to do a promotional material for his painted company for Valentine's Day. That's obviously a little bit creepy because knowing that the entire time he was interacting with them, he wanted Kyla out of the picture and he's really the one that wanted Evan. James had reached out to Kyla and said something along the lines of, "Are we still good to do this Valentine's Day project?" And Kyla said, "Oh, so funny, actually, we literally just broke up yesterday. Evan did some of the worst things a human being could ever do to someone to me, abused me, explained the situation." And then James said,
Came back after she said that and was like, "Can I have him now?"
James Charles on FaceTime, do you...
Well, that's disgusting. Yeah, I don't even quite know what to say about that. That's really disgusting, but so predictable from James. Because he's just a piece of... Like, I don't... Like, are we all surprised? I guess if you thought James had some kind of like a redemption arc going on because he was funny on TikTok, like, good for you, I guess. You look like a idiot again. One of Kayla's friends posted this. James Charles when he sees a straight abusive man that his friend dated. And it's that song that James went viral for. It's not his song, but it's like a song that he went viral for. I can't play it though because it'll get copyrighted. Trisha Paytas has now talked about the allegations against James Charles. And I think a lot of people are speaking out about this. I mean, my whole For You page, but then again, it is like a For You page, so it's for me. But my whole For You page is about this. And people are just like saying, see, to anyone that thought James was having a redemption arc, do you not feel stupid? But I know you guys probably didn't have a redemption arc for him because we're in this together. But let me know what you think anyways. Subscribe, hit the bell icon for engagement, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.